love the character Michael Myers. I always thought Michael was the creepiest out of Jason and Freddy because Michael just stands there. He stands in the shadows. He's got just a plain white mask, which was molded from William Shatner, which is kind of interesting to know. But a plain white mask. You're standing there in the dark and you just see a white face. He's known as the Shape, who stalks babysitters and uses a kitchen knife. I mean, that's when you think of Michael Myers, you automatically think of kitchen knives, even though in a lot of the films he uses whatever to his advantage. But when you see Michael, his main staple is the kitchen knife, like Jason with the machete, Freddy with the glove. So Michael Myers, to me, out of the, let's just compare him to Jason and Freddy. I think he's the creepiest. Jason is the most intimidating, and Freddy is the most manipulative. And Freddy to me is cool because he can talk, he can, you know, he can fight. I just think he's very different from the others. But Michael just stands there and he just gives you this look, you know. And Jason does the same thing. But Michael has that creepiness to him. I just like how he can just pop out of nowhere. And the signature music, okay, let's talk about the Halloween franchise music. It's been done by different people. The John Carpenter version is definitely my favorite. And it's the most recognizable soundtrack ever. Like, when you think of popular movie soundtracks or themes, what do you think of? I mean, Star Wars comes to mind, Terminator, Jaws. You know, there's a ton of other soundtracks, but Halloween is one of, you know, that's like in the top 5. I mean, it's the most recognized theme ever. And once you hear that theme, you know it's Halloween. Alan Howarth, you know, he's done his versions, which I love Alan Howarth's versions. It's got kind of a faster beat to it. Halloween 2 also had different, kind of like a slower version of it. But I love the theme to Halloween. There's just so much, there's, you know, so many great soundtracks out there. It's just, it's awesome. So, back when I was collecting VHS tapes, Friday the 13th Part 3 was the very first horror movie I ever collected on VHS. And I did all the Friday 13th, then I did all the Nightmare on Elm Street, then I did all the Halloweens. Now, the very first Halloween film I ever saw was Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. I saw it on TV. Of course, all the good stuff was cut out, like all the, the cursing and just, you know, it was edited for television, obviously. But when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is awesome. You know, I was already familiar with Freddy. I was already familiar with Jason. And my dad let me watch it. He didn't. My dad was just the kind. He's like, he'd always ask me, "You know, this is just a movie, right? It's not real." I knew the difference. Okay, I knew the difference. I thought Michael was cool. I thought Freddy was cool. Jason was cool, but I knew it was a movie, so he didn't have any problem with me watching. But I just became so. It was because of Jason, Freddy, and Michael Myers that I started becoming a huge horror fan. I mean, huge. I would watch these movies every freaking night before I go to bed. And at school, I would just think about them. I mean, that's how into it I was. But Halloween 4 was the very first one I saw. So then I started to collect the movies on VHS in order, starting with the first movie. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, is the very first Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasence. This movie is a classic. One of the most classic horror films ever made. A slasher in its own way. It came out before Friday the 13th. And, well, this is the 35th anniversary edition on Blu-ray. It's a very thin, I don't know, it's thin. It's got a little booklet inside. I'll just show you a little bit here. Oops. Little booklet there. John Carpenter there. There is the original poster right there. The night he came home. Basically about a guy who's stalking babysitters, stalking Laurie Strode and her friends, and there's clearly a motive on why he's doing it. And that, once the story unravels, you find out why he's going after Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis. There's a lot of great shots in this movie, a lot of memorable shots where he's hiding behind he's standing on the sidewalk, then he disappears behind a bush and he's gone. Laurie Strode looks out her window and he's standing there looking up at her by the clothesline. Then she looks back and he's gone. Plays the great music. There are just some classic scenes that you will never, ever forget. The one that always gets me is the part where Michael is laying down in the bedroom. And Laurie, it's the shot where it shows Laurie Strode, but it shows over her shoulder in the bedroom. Laurie's kind of just like leaning against the wall, the doorway, and then in the background it shows Michael, and he's like this, and then he's like that. He turns his head. He just sits up and turns it. That fantastic. That shot was done so perfect. I mean, the suspense. He's behind you. He's behind you. Turn around. You yell at the TV, turn around. God, Laurie, what's wrong with you? It's one of those moments. And there are times in this movie where it just gets intense with him stalking and chasing after somebody. He just walks. You have the whole story on Michael, even though it's not really a whole story, but it's very vague in the beginning how he kills his sister with the knife, the kitchen knife, and then his parents come home and they find him standing outside with the knife and has this look on his face like, what the hell did I just do? And that's how it all started. Of course, the remakes had to explain on why he did that. They had to explain on, he was in a bad home, and that's why he killed everybody. Because everyone treated him like crap. And to me, I think it's scarier with no motive. I think it's scarier the fact that he just snaps one day or just decides one day just to kill his sister just because. I think that's scarier. It's unpredictable. That's what you get with this movie. Okay? Fantastic. The acting by some of the other... the acting's okay. I would say it shines in a lot of scenes. Jamie Lee Curtis is she doesn't really put much into her role, but some of the acting can be a little bit over the top and cheesy, so to say. But that's what makes it fun. It's one of those horror films that that the cheesiness works and the acting works for what it is, because the film knows what it is. But John Carpenter did a fantastic job with this movie. One of the greats.